Saintess summons skeletons. By Morn. Chapter 361, Saintess narrates tribulations. So I grabbed the key and kept it on me because it seemed important. That's about all that happened while I was still a prisoner, Sofia recounted. Then Armand rushed things and rescued you early, Jen continued, nodding along. Precisely, Sofia confirmed. In fact, it was Fox who snuck into the palace and got rid of the guards in front of my door. He broke the barrier, stomped in, grabbed me and broke a catalyst. Next thing I knew, we were in the forest behind the palace, teleport there by Nice. Didn't you say it was Astlias' uncle? Saria interrupted her. Sofia nodded. I did. He was the same cardinal guy who paid me for blood in Drakran, just that he was lower level and used a different name back then. That tiny vampire lass is Ol Nice's niece? Jennifer muttered, it's a small world, eh? He must be glad she's also a space mage. This is where things get a bit messy. It turns out you were acting as a diversion with Armand to allow Fox to get in, and Jevon took the opportunity to assassinate the old king and frame you two for it, Sofia explained. Jevon was good at being a sly fucking dog, we can give him that. Must've made things much easier for him to have us show up to take the blame. Sent the army after our ass? Not quite nicey teleport you and Armand to us, but the royal mage advisor guy with a dumb face followed you. He was outnumbered though. When Armand broke his shield you sliced him in half with a, is that the same sword, actually? Sofia asked, pointing at the scabbard behind Jennifer. Not the same, but a similar design, Jen answered. I remember that one dude, was part of the coup, if I remember things right. Died to the Phagiad. I coulda handled him alone, probably. But if Nice had teleport us, must mean we had the whole ass royal guard after us. What next? Well, we hid in Fox's place for a while, and Armand analyzed the situation. His conclusion was that it was unlikely that Jevon could mobilize the army against us right after the coup, and that he would want to keep the royal guard close because he was a coward. So the most likely thing to happen would be to have the Church's heroes hunt us. The Church? Jen asked, why the hell wow'd the Church get involved in this crap? They never gave two shits who the king was back then. Supposedly, if they retrieved the Aurelia's key, they could keep part of the treasury's contents. Oh, that do make sense. Pretty sure there were some old relics of their god in there, not enough to make commit regicide, but if the new king was to offer to give it to Jennifer mumbled, thinking to herself. What happened to that, by the way? You said you would explain, Saria asked Jennifer. Right. Well, the treasury was essentially a big space magic storage lockbox in a vault, according to Armand. So when the Phagiad came to nab all the mana it could, guess what the first thing it reached for was? Treasury's pretty fucking dead, Jennifer explained with a laugh. Oh, what happens to the contents of a storage item when it breaks? Does it spill out? I've never encountered that actually, Sofia asked. That I can explain, Saria chimed in. The storage space inside of a storage item is its own bubble of compressed and stale space contained within the mana plane, and linked to the item. But if it breaks, then the bubble bursts, spilling the content, yes, but not in our physical realm. The logic behind it, if I remember what Zephyr said, is that the only new matter that can be brought into the physical realm is mana, since it's not really wholly physical. So we do swapping instead of subtracting and adding. When we store something in a storage item, the stale air in the storage space is swapped with whatever we put in there, and inversely when we take something out, preserving the balance. But when the storage item breaks, no swap can happen, therefore the matter can't be brought back into the physical realm. So to conclude in simple words, it all gets thrown directly into the margin. Sounds about right, Jen confirmed. Shit is lost forever, pretty much. If you come across this story on Amazon, it's taken without permission from the author. Report it. That sounds like an interesting way to permanently get rid of something. Like incriminating evidence, or something useless to you but that could be used by your enemies. I wonder if Perith could teleport back to me if my storage ring broke while he's inside. Probably not if I'm here, but I think he probably would be able to if I'm sticking my hands out of Zangdar's outer shield. If he can even survive being in the margin. Hard to say if he would, considering the Phagiad we threw in there died in a few seconds. So yeah, Sofia started again. The Church sent the heroes after us, all of them. And you managed to escape? Your trial's goal was Jacet to survive, right? I guess you just gave the key, didn't ya? Pretty sure they'd let you go with just dat. Well. No, I managed to convince you all that I had a plan to deal with the issue, and with Armand on my side, you all agreed to go along with it, Sofia said. I always follow the money, bet he promised to pay us extra when ya weren't lookin'. Bold move though, I ain't too sure what you could do against the heroes. Even with Armand there. Big Baldy wasn't much of a fighter, but he was still not someone we could stand against. Could have flattened our whole band with a single spell, wouldn't be hard to retrieve a key, Jennifer commented. So I'll skip the details, but I had the instructions for an apostle's ritual, and by the time Orvad caught up with us. Jennifer stared at Sofia, wide-eyed. You didn't, right? And with Aurelia's frail-ass stick body. Sofia silently shared the description of her Valkyrie's Rehofen of Sorrow skill. After a moment of speechless shock, Jennifer burst out laughing so loudly that her chair fell backward, and she kept laughing for a second even on the floor. Ya became a fucking apostle in a trial. She almost shouted while standing back up. You're even crazier than me. I'll give ya that title any day o' the week. Damn Archangel must've been shit in his pants too for how much ya messed the trial up. Sofia glanced at Saria for support, but her sister, who was always so supportive, seemed to have nothing helpful to say this time. I mean, she's not wrong. That was crazy, especially when you know what the ritual entailed. As if you wouldn't have done the same, Sofia retorted. Saria smirked and raised an eyebrow. Were sisters all right? This made Jen roar with laughter again. Thankfully a small orchestra inside the manor had started playing music for the party, and it easily drowned the loud guffawing of the tanned warrior. After Jen managed to settle down, Sofia returned to her storytelling. Orvad reached us right after I transformed. I was still stuck at level 1 due to the trial's restrictions, but my stats were nothing like a level 1. More like a fresh level 200, I think. A fresh level 200 apostle EY? It'd still be hard to escape Baldy, but not completely impossible. He ain't the fastest flyer, his strength was more in holding a siege. Defensive fighter, Jennifer commented. What about our group, thought, still with ya at this point? So, at this point I decided to fight against Orvad, Sofia narrated. Really? Ya got some real balls, Jen commented with an approving nod, but I suppose with Armand ya could hold for a few seconds. Oh no, Armand was useless. He was clashing with Orvad initially, but clearly wasn't able to do anything to the man. I told him to go help you lot, and by that I mean you and Nicey. Fox got smashed by a big rock, some few seconds before that. Oh. That why you asked about him? Yeah, his real life ended a bit more peacefully than that, I suppose. In that trial me and Nicey died too, then. Why would you think that? Saria asked. If Armand was holding Orvad back after Fox already died, and we weren't there, means we were trying to escape. But Orvad wouldn't come alone, ya can be sure the other guard dogs o' the church would come, the Tiger Man and the Weirdo Paladin. And to be honest, me and Nicey from back then against ya were completely and utterly dead. Leaves one question, how in tarnations did ya manage to fight against Baldy and survive? Sofia smiled. I assume you know about the Primordial Lake? They built a magic academy on it later. The lake? Jennifer asked. Ya took the fight to the Mana Lake? That's probably one of the worst places for Orvad to fight, and interesting. Very interesting. I'm startin' to understand how ya got to where ya are at your age. Mere old stories must sound tame in comparison to the shenanigans ya get up to. How'd tha fight go? It wasn't too bad. And I woke up at the bottom of the lake, with a few days left on the clock. There's a bit more to the story I'll get up to later with the eclipse, but I'd like to know how the real event went first. And I guess, if you could tell us what you know about the Phagiad in general. What happened back then ain't as in as you may imagine. It was hell, Jennifer started. Chapter 362, A Link to the Past. To start with the reason this even happened, the attack back then was the first time this world suffered a serious invasion by the Phagiad. Since then it has happened once more, around 500 years ago. And it will surely happen again, relatively soon. Optimistically, we might have about 40 years, Jennifer explained seriously, completely losing her accent. So they attack every 500 years? Saria asked. Does it have anything to do with the true solstice from the trial? I've been calling it an eclipse because it looked like that, but the solstice shouldn't be an eclipse. Sadly, it is not that easy to predict exactly when they come. At best we will know 2 or 3 years in advance, but it will happen on the summer solstice, when the sun is furthest from us, when sun's influence is at its weakest. Wait, to clarify, they attack on the solstice because sun is weaker at that time of year? Sofia asked. Yeah, Jennifer casually confirmed, at any other time, sun would be able to prevent them from reaching us, but her power to affect our planet varies greatly depending on the distance of the actual Sunday. In fact, even during the solstice, she would be able to stop them. She does just that every year, actually. Sun is the entire reason we haven't been overrun yet. The elves in general are slaughtering Phagiad any chance they get. This is looking like a bigger issue than I even thought it might be, Sofia commented. That lich you spoke about seemed to take them pretty seriously, Saria chimed in. I asked Zephyr, but apparently he was told by the older dragons to worry about growing stronger before bringing that up again. And they're right, this issue is something for the old folks like me to deal with. The system is also always bolstering its forces to be able to fight back. I'm explaining so that you can understand how it goes, but you're a bit too young to help. So if Sun is able to prevent them from attacking every solstice, how did they still manage to invade twice? Sofia asked. Because, twice now, something massive in space has eclipsed the Sun during the solstice for a few minutes. It's truly gigantic, larger than our planet itself, and yet we can barely perceive its presence when it draws close, and can only really know exactly where it is when it's hiding the Sun. Some kind of big planet hidden in the void? I can see how it might be hard to keep track of. Just finding our planet from the Sun wasn't easy despite how bright and colorful it was. Wouldn't have known where it was or how it looked without Afinareth pointing it out. And we have no idea about what it could be? Saria asked. Absolutely none. No one even noticed its presence the first time, from what I've heard, and everyone's attention was turned to the sudden invasion, Jennifer confirmed. Sofia asked another question. From what you're saying it sounds like they attacked everywhere at once. Were there more than one Alphagiad? Several of those, a few bigger ones, and countless smaller, Jennifer answered, and to continue on the subject of the thing in space, we noticed it when it came again last time, because a lot of the higher level people were expecting the attack. The Phagiad did not attack cities on their second attack, they targeted the system's towers. A few of them fell and had to be rebuilt since. So whenever that thing obscures the Sun again is when they will launch their third assault, Saria mumbled. In about 40 years, if the time between the attacks is consistent. An old dragon named Avros and the two celestial gods are keeping track of outer space, on the lookout for the object. They are confident to be able to find it a few years in advance this time. Depending on the situation, there might not be another Phagiad attack. There are people preparing to destroy the thing when it shows up, very strong people. Let's just hope they succeed, Jennifer explained, finishing with a sigh. Then going back to her story, now you know the how, somewhat at last. The exact origin of the Phagiad is still a mystery. Then again, I ain't the best informed on the subject. As for the why of the attacks, it's simple, they want mana to reproduce. And that's exactly what the Alphagiad came for on that day. I was just outside of the city when it happened. Jennifer stopped to summon a glass of water. After downing the entire thing, she continued, as I said, I was just outside of the city walls, waiting in line to enter. Quite the lucky timing. Fox was already far in the countryside, and Nicey was in the city, drinking at some pub. For the other people you want to know about, Aurelia was still in Armand's capital house, Armand himself was away on some errand, and Baldy was at the church. Just like that you have almost the entire list of survivors. Unauthorized use of content. If you find this story on Amazon, report the violation. Out of those only Aurelia died, Sofia noted. Yes, Jennifer confirmed with another sigh, it was as if fate was against her. She escaped death's jaws only to fall right back in. Armand's house was close to the tier in space the Alphagiad appeared from. Aurelia was likely one of the first to die. I would love to have an heroic tale to tell about what comes next, but there is no such thing. I was lucky to be outside and could escape. Nicey teleported out as soon as things started looking bad. The few people able to fly also fled, one of them being Gabriella, one of the Chich's heroes back then. She escaped with Baldy's kid, making him the only child to survive. Wait, I saw her. A woman flying away with a kid. I think I saw her escape in the trial as well, Sofia told them. Are they still alive? Jennifer made a weird face. They Gabriella should still be alive, though no longer affiliated with the church. Haven't heard of her in about 200 years though, so who knows. Orvod's child passed away later, I think, but I'm relatively sure he had a few kids too. HMM. Well, I killed one of them. Several generations down the line probably, but still. I wonder how his daughter's doing now. I'm pretty sure I got rid of all her soul parasites. Let's hope she managed to flee the country. It's interesting to think that some heroes of the church from back then are still around, but it also makes me wonder how many hero pawns Scripture might still have under his control. Maybe the elf from last time. No, it wasn't a hero. Jennifer then described what she saw from outside the city, which was essentially the exact same as what had happened during the trial. The main discrepancy was the presence of Armand and Orvad. Baldy protected the church with his stone magic, Jennifer explained. It was the last standing building after the attack. Barely, but still standing. Armand reached the city relatively soon after the attack started, and after realizing Aurelia was already gone, he attacked the thing directly. He died, overwhelmed by the tentacles of the Phagiad, but had some sort of magical protection which brought him back. That cleared his mind a bit, and he joined forces with Baldy to try to at least save the few remaining people hiding in the church. No one inside made it through. Despite their best efforts, the Alphagiad's tentacles managed to pierce the defenses and snatched them. When Baldy and Armand realized they were the last two survivors inside the city, they fled, and this is when an angel showed up to destroy the thing with lightning magic. As I told you, no heroic tale. As for me, I was busy trying to survive against the Phagiad outside the city. Mostly big squid types, called larvae. It wasn't glorious. So the survivors were you, Nice, Gabriella, Armand, Orvad and his son? That's really not much, Saria enumerated. A few more who were able to fly or teleport made it out after all of this. Armand, as the highest-ranking survivor of the nobility, took the title of king and gathered the willing survivors from all over the country to build the new capital. Once he felt that his duty was completed and the kingdom saved, he killed himself in the memorial chamber he had built for Aurelia. The remains of the old capital were flattened by Blatty and left for nature to reclaim. And there you have it, the first Phagiad attack and the creation of the Scarich kingdom. I have one more question, Sofia told Jennifer when she was done with her story. Why did Armand choose to build the new capital on that mountain? Give me a minute, I think he told me about that once when we were having a drink, Jennifer told her, deep in thoughts. I remember. She finally exclaimed after 40 long seconds of reflection. 'Twas the Chich's oracle who gave the idea. The bloke survived the attack cause he was away on his second trial. When he came back he actively helped rebuild the kingdom, and he found this location for the new capital. We have to give it to him that the mountain is a great natural defense. Tha city is still standing to this day. As I suspected. Who knew Scripture would want to build his church right on top of a pit full of undead, right? As if he had been planning something for a long while, something relating to a certain recessed. Was that the same oracle who is still in charge? Sofia asked. Still Tha same guy, far as I know, never care much for him. Think he failed a trial, stuck at level 299 or 349 if my memory's correct. Think his name was Jeffrey? The name made Sofia's blood run cold. It was like a sudden hit in the back of the head. No. 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 Absolutely not. Jeffrey. Like. Orphanage director Jeffrey? Surely not. Not so obvious. He wouldn't even bother changing his name? No, that can't be right. I saw his dead body right in his office. He was just. Was it his body? Sofia, are you all right? Saria's worried voice brought Sofia out of her stupor. Chapter 363, Lightheaded. Yes, sorry, I'll explain later. It's nothing, Sofia reassured Saria. I'm probably just getting parano. Scripture is getting under my skin. There's no way he would have spent years running an orphanage pretending to be the unremarkable director Jeffrey. It's a rather common name too. I just yet. So, you're gonna tell me how the end of your trial went? Jennifer asked. Then it teleported right into the bolt and I died, but since that counted as completing the trial, it sent me back. You're out of your mind. 'Tis what it takes to grow that fast, I suppose. Not often that one can claim to have died thrice in the first trial and still passed. How'd you do in the second one? You's curious. Sofia pointed at Saria, and with the most deadpan expression, she said, she ranked first. She paused, then continued, and I ranked first after that. Ya what now? Jennifer reeled back on her chair. Fuckin'. Can't wait to see ta kind of shit ya both gon' pull in the next trial then, she told them, before slouching back into her chair. Let's not speak bout my own rank, I did well in Tha third one at least. Saria jumped on the opportunity to ask about the subject. Right, is there anything you can tell us about it? We already know about the essence wager, but that's about it. Jennifer changed position on her chair again, thinking while bent forward. elbows touching her legs. Sensor ain't making it easy. You're gonna need to make a lot o' hard choices, so ya better bring your brain with ya is one thing. The best advice Sensor will allow me to give is probably this: know yourself and know what ya want. Know yourself and know what you want. Make a lot of hard choices. And the trial is called the Tower of Rebirth. We make choices for our own rebirth? Know what you want for yourself, then? If that's it, I should be fine. What I want is more mana to summon more skeletons, pretty easy. If it's more of a life goal thing, then the answer is the same. I just want to enjoy life. I need to get stronger to hand it to scripture, but that's it, and I enjoy the trials. I can't help but look forward to my own growth. L.B//JNN. There was a short moment of relative calm, accompanied by the muffled sound of the party's orchestra inside the manor as Sofia and Saria both pondered on the meaning of Jennifer's words. That's interesting information, thank you, Saria thanked the blonde warrior. It's nothin'. Not that does help, I think, thank you, Sofia chimed in, we should probably go back to the party at some point. But, hey, if I had to ask one last thing, what do we make of this now? Our relationship, I mean. Jennifer shrugged, but she seemed a bit uncomfortable with the question. Ya tell me. I ain't best with that. So I ain't gone suddenly become someone I'm not. I can help with training your physical skills, and I know lots about monsters. None much else. Being nothing more than a distant family member that sometimes share a story and can help if they want doesn't sound bad, Saria suggested. So just life as usual for all of us, except now we know you exist and we're acquainted. No obligations, just spontaneous positive interactions. I would like that, honestly. At least it no longer feels like Saria and I don't have roots anywhere. It's not actually useful, but it does feel nice to just know you're here, Sofia continued. Jennifer laughed a bit. It looked to Sofia that their answers had reassured the woman a lot. With a slight smile, she accepted their offer. If that's all it takes to make your sisters happy, then I'll gladly exist as just your distant family member. I don't spend much time at the academy, but ya can come talk whenever I do. I ain't good FO much, but I do have plenty OOL tales to share if you're interested. I'll take you up on that, Saria happily accepted. Sofia looked through her storage. It was in the hero's cold box, I think. Oh, right there. She brought out something that had been waiting in her storage for what felt like forever. It was a full bottle of dwarven liquor. It had unknowingly made its way to her food stock on the night of happy drinking she had spent with Cooley, Carlson, Karin, and Dryan in the Red Wines Empire, right before getting her citizenship. Should we have a toast to the reunion of our distant family? She suggested while also checking her storage for clean glasses. Gladly. I'm happy I finally got to know the family I didn't know I had, Jennifer accepted, suppressing her accent to sound more serious. The author's content has been appropriated. Report any instances of this story on Amazon. As the trio shared a drink, Sofia felt watched for a second. She looked behind her. The party was still going on, and there were people vaguely looking in the direction of the terrace, but no one watching her in particular. She looked at Perith, asking if he felt or saw anything weird, to which he shook his head in response. This reminded her of how she felt watched during the dungeon excursion and how it had ended. One thing led to another, and the group returned to party afterwards, spending the rest of it munching like three gluttons on the buffet tables and discussing what Sofia could do with the dried egg in her storage ring. Jennifer hadn't lied, she did know a fair bit about even the most exotic of monsters, and what to do with a big egg was included. The next 3 weeks came and went in an instant. Sofia held her third public class without any issue. The creature of the deep showed up again this time, and Sofia had sent Perith after it when it left, only to see it fade away and disappear in the middle of a corridor. Sofia held her regular classes as usual, helping all the students progress. Notably, Shaylee was starting to get somewhere with Angel's Bolt, and could already send small shocks up to a few meters away through her hands. Whether there was going to be a special event for the competition this month was still uncertain, as there had been no communication on the subject, and Sofia was still pondering about the options Jen had given her to deal with the dried egg. In the meantime, however, she had spent all of her free time in isolation. Venerable physique of the primeval void, second step of the light forging realm. Your blood becomes light, 126 436/126 441 drops converted. Some changes were already there. Now Sofia could feel the few drops of blood left stuck within her veins, being pushed away by the light, but she could also tell that the real change from this step of VPPV was yet to come. just changing the blood was the build-up to the real switch inside of her. The blood light in her was still inert, for now. Another heartbeat. Another bout of dull chest pain that now failed to even disturb Sofia's focus or expression. Another drop of blood gone. 4 more. She was sitting cross-legged on her bed, she closed her eyes. Her empty heart continued to beat, and another drop of blood trickled down from the cut on her left hand, caught by a small cup. 3. 2. Sofia's heart beat one last time, and stopped. Her body was shaken by a short but intense shock, it felt like being struck by lightning. She had felt it coming, so even that failed to get a sound out of her, but as the pain faded, she slumped on her bed. Done. Sofia put a hand on her chest. It's no longer beating. Can I even be called human anymore? She held her left hand above her face. From the small cut that had been used to drain the last drops of blood, she could see the flowing light beneath. It looked like a rapid stream of shimmering golden water. This feels weird. Out of all the steps of VPPV until now, this has to be the most strange. How does it even work? Her mithril dagger appeared in Sofia's right hand. She looked at Perith, who had stopped looking out the window to come to her side when she finished to convert her blood. You're not going to help me with my testing, right? I know you don't like harming me. Well, let's see how this goes. Sofia clenched her teeth. With a clean strike, she amputated her left hand at the wrist, losing a few thousand health points. The pain was lower than she expected, she thought as she watched her hand slowly detach and fall. I almost didn't feel that. Oh wow. The lifeless hand fell, it was very clean without any blood. The light was left behind, it kept flowing in the shape of her hand despite the hand being gone, going out of the wrist then back in. So this is what the veins in a hand look like? That's a lot. These larger ones are the main lines supplying all the smaller ones. Looks a bit like a bunch of jumbled roots. The hand of light moved following her wrist, it didn't feel like anything aside from the cut wrist itself being a bit sore. Despite not being able to feel her hand anymore, Sofia tried to close it, and was shocked to discover that it worked. The cut hand on the bed was still an inert piece of flesh, but the hand of light on her wrist definitely moved. I feel like this will make healing a lot easier. Besides that, I'm not too sure. She tried to grab the real cut hand with the hand of light. The streams of light curved when they collided with solid matter, curving like a squishy blob to keep flowing as usual. Light can't really touch anything. She tried to cut the hand of light with the mithril blade to see if it would curve around it too, which it did. She brought the hand of light to her face. It's very bright and a bit warm. But I still don't get weight. I can't cast an angel bolt without a hand to hold it and direct the mana. But I still have a hand. Sparks formed around the ethereal hand and a violent rod of plasma started to form, held in place by the golden streams of light. Sofia cancelled the spell and suffered some weak backlash as the mana dispersed through the light and back into her arm, running amok inside her. She laughed. Not even looking at the description of the next step of the skill, she spent the next few minutes channeling an unlife rune. She needed to try something else now, and it couldn't wait. The hand was already starting to heal by itself, equipping the saint's headband to get some more bits of health regeneration. She watched with amazement as her hand slowly regrew around the channels of light while she worked on the rune. Standing in front of Perith, she asked, "Are you really not going to do it?" "All right, fine." Sofia summoned the small lich form of Bookie, she grabbed him and put him on the bed, handing him her long mithril dagger. She fell to her knees in front of the bed. "Come on now, behead me." Chapter 364, The Long-Awaited. Bookie did not have the same qualms Perith had about following orders, but he was also not nearly as proficient with bladed weapons, leaving Sofia with a slit throat that didn't bleed. That's a bit uncomfortable. And it's healed. Simple clean cuts really don't last long if the two sides of the skin can touch again. Health hasn't gone back up, but the skin still fixed itself. Trying and failing to speak indicated that on the inside, her throat was still messed up. Well, the rune is preventing healing. Try again, Bookie, line up the dagger a bit better, all right? Bookie nodded and slashed at Sofia's neck again. It was a cleaner strike, going right through her spine. Sofia's head fell on the bed, the streams of light connected to it flowing out of her now lifeless body to follow the head. She couldn't see more as she fell face first on the bed sheets. Somehow, this isn't what I had imagined. Health, 2245/8980. Exactly a quarter of my health remains. For just the head? More than I would have expected. It's weird to think I'm just ahead right now. As Sofia was analyzing her situation, Perith picked her head up. Oh, hoy, warn me first. Being just ahead I feel a bit vulnerable. Now freed from the bed sheets, Sofia could look at her lifeless body on the ground and at her body of light following her head like a dangling ghost. I can survive like that. Yeah, definitely not really human anymore, am I? If I ever get trapped I can escape like a lizard cutting its tail, just by cutting my body instead. Actually I want to try something, can you put me down on the bed again, please? Perith gently put Sofia's head between two cushions. This I feel like it should work, as ridiculous as it is. Sofia dumped a bunch of bones from her storage right on top of the bed, and started sculpting a headless replica of her body. Once she was done, she controlled it to pick her head up. It's not very easy to control such a big lump of melded bones, a bit too rigid. Still, let's try. Slowly, Sofia brought her head to the flat neck of the bone body. Only to realize that the veins of light wouldn't get inside. 20 seconds of experimenting later, she understood that if the veins of light were to inhabit that bone shell, she would have to carve out the paths inside of it for the light to flow through. Too much work. It'll take time to prepare one for the trial just in case. It'd be nice to have a replacement body ready. It should be much easier to control when my blood flows inside it, just like reshaping my own bones is easier than otherwise. To think this whole thing is possible with just bone dominus and venerable physique of the primeval void. 2 skills. Well, not quite. Heat death is what's providing the energy, it's also why I kept all my mana. I'm pretty sure I'd eventually starve if not for that, pretty quickly, probably. Alright, enough testing. The arms of the bone body slowly reached up, still very rigid in their movements, and picked up the head from the neck. Nov, L, B /JNN. Get my body up, Perith. With Perith propping up the limp headless body of Sofia, she carefully controlled the bone body to put her head back where it belonged. The veins of light flew right back into the body, and Sofia could sense her mana spreading back into the entire body. The only issue was that the body and head were still only just stacked on top of each other. Like before, the skin quickly stuck to itself, reconnecting the head, but everything inside was still separated. Sofia couldn't feel her body at all. The unlife rune prevented healing, so she either had to dispel it or kill herself if she wanted to fix the issue. Somehow I'm a bit uncomfortable at the thought of dispelling the rune when my head isn't properly connected to my body. Logically it should be perfectly safe though. The rune gone, the simple presence of Perith as a blessed construct of bone dominus gave enough regeneration to quickly reconnect the bone, tissues and nerves inside of Sofia's neck, finally giving her control of her body back. Ow, I feel all tingly. I think the body suffered a bit from the lack of blood, she told Perith and Bookie. If you find this story on Amazon, be aware that it has been stolen. Please report the infringement. Well, blood. Light? Blood light? As she had expected, reconnecting the head to the body also got her health back up to full instantly. That almost makes me want to try to see which limbs are worth how much health, but that's enough self-mutilation for today. Let's see what my venerable physique has to say. Venerable physique of the primeval void, 3rd step of the light forging realm. Light forging realm. Starting step, you no longer age. First step, your skin becomes tougher and opaque, 1000/1000%. Second step, your blood becomes light, 126/441/126/441 drops converted. Third step, your nerves and brain become light, 0/100%. Fourth step, enhances your appearance through the use of light. Fifth step. Current step training method, consume nerve-damaging substances. I see. Very straightforward, at least. Nerves and brain. I wonder what's left for the last step? All remaining organs? I'd like to at least still look human by the end of this, but it does feel like the fourth step might not help with that. Enhance my appearance, hey? I'll trust you, Mr. Scribe, but I'm dubious. Hopefully the training for that is easy, considering how useless it sounds. Too bad I don't have any silver water left. Do I have any other poison left? Right, I have this, still. Sofia thought as she summoned the flask of brown powder that one student had tried to poison Shaili with. Silent death, dangerous refined toxin, this poison is hard to produce even for renowned alchemists. Insufficient doses, causes a swift death by sudden brain and nervous tissue necrosis after an incubation period of 4 to 5 hours. Effective on most hot-blooded creatures under level 200. Item level, 200. Grade, precious. That's actually perfect. Sofia opened the flask of brown powder and swallowed the entirety of its contents. Wasn't the reason we couldn't eat more stat candies due to some kind of poisoning? But Alith said it can reduce stats. I think that's a risky gamble, but it might be worth a try. If I can even get the stats from a single one, then the poisoning from the next might not be enough to remove it all. I'll see. Sofia walked around in her room while looking in her storage to see if she was forgetting anything. She was stopped by Bookie pulling on her shirt. Yes? She asked the small skeleton, to which he brought out his book form, and opened it at a certain page Sofia hardly ever used. Oh. The poisonous plant mage hero. There were a few flower pots around that Sofia had made for her room as decoration to make the place less drab while she worked on her blood. She had filled them with dirt but forgot to ever actually plant anything. It ended up being the perfect setting for the useless plant mage to finally shine. Solar Blossom Mancer, LV 249. Health, 6225/6225. Stamina, 6225/6225. Mana, 37350/37350. Lifetime, 14938s/14940s. Awful stats. Alright, you've got dirt to work with this time, so make me some good poison. The very normal-looking skeleton had no kind of equipment at all, which was rare for Bookie's humanoid skeletons. It just kneeled before two of the flower pots and shoved a skeletal hand in the dirt of each. From the left one grew a bunch of tightly packed blue star-shaped flowers, and from the right one, a single big orange flower with 4 large oval petals in the center of which grew a long sausage-like purple fruit. The skeleton stood up and looked up at Sofia with his arms crossed, visibly proud of his job. This one has an attitude. That's all you have? She asked. The skeleton nodded, still looking confident. All right, I get the fruit, but what about the other ones? Am I supposed to eat them too? The skeleton shook his head. He very carefully plucked a star-shaped flower and brought it up to the nosehole of his skull, mimicking the act of smelling it. Oh, makes sense. Let's try these. Maybe I should cast a fake immortality rune first, just in case. Just in case. The rune up, Sofia grabbed the long purple fruit and bit right into it. It had a thin skin and was full of juice-filled bubbles that popped in Sofia's mouth. The juice was slightly sour like a weak lemon. Before she could even swallow, the contact of the juice with her mouth sent waves of heat along her throat and up her face. Stronger than I expected. Sofia stored the rest of the fruit and carefully monitored her condition. A sensation of numb pain followed the heat, and the mere contact of her clothes on her upper body felt a bit like wearing sheets of molten steel. Not very comfortable. I might have underestimated that skeleton's abilities. This could be useful. Maybe. Then again, my health is barely moving. Venerable physique of the primeval void. Third step of the light forging realm. Third step, your nerves and brain become light, 0.16/100%. This as well isn't moving much. It is moving, though. That's a start. Time to pay Alith a visit. If that's not enough, then I'll ask Eternam too. Surely the alchemy teacher and necromancer would have a few exotic poisons to let me buy. Chapter 365, Toxic Relationship. Sofia followed Alith to the underground sections of the academy. Alith was renting a room just like Shaili did for her monster corpse business, except Alith was using hers as an alchemy laboratory. What are the slimes for? Sofia asked, observing the bunch of small red slimes sleeping at the bottom of a glass container. Waste disposal. They're called sponge slimes. They eat just about anything as long as it's in liquid form. They'd even gobble up molten mithril if they had the chance, Alith explained while she gathered a variety of glass tools from the many shelves lining the walls. Oh, right, I remember those from your bestiary book. Aren't they supposed to be quite rare? Feed them enough junk and they'll duplicate. Since most alchemists use them, there's actually a surplus, making them quite cheap. She turned, showing Sofia the glassware she was preparing. The enchanted beakers and flasks are relatively cheap too. What really hurts is actually the herbs and powders we need to cook. Right, I should pay you. How much do you want? Alith shrugged. I'm not about to make you pay for it, just reimburse me for the more expensive ingredients if you really want to get rid of some gold. What do you want to try first? A couple of health candies to test your theory? You might actually lose some health, Alith warned her. Since it's a bit risky, let's leave it for the end. Maybe I'll complete the thing fast enough that it won't be needed, Sofia answered, poking at the inert slimes. Alright, now that I think about it, Sof, this is the first time you'll see me actually do my job, isn't it? I've seen you cook food plenty of times, it's not that far from one another if I understand alchemy correctly. Yeah, except this time I'm cooking neurotoxic poison for my best friend instead of a good meal. Hooray, Alith sarcastically rejoiced. Sofia stopped playing with the slimes and walked up to Alith. I'm really interested in seeing you do your thing, actually. And hey, I've cooked poison for you plenty of times, haven't I? Sofia giggled, remembering the food she used to cook sometimes when she was traveling with Alith. It was no mystery why Alith had started taking care of the meals. It's shocking to me you even survived to adulthood with cooking skills this hazardous, Alith answered, giggling too. You know, orphans don't get much of an opportunity to cook. Most times we couldn't even make a fire to heat up the stuff we found, so imagine actually cooking. I never learned to cook in the orphanage either. Never too late to learn, Alith told her while she produced a bunch of small bundles of dried and fresh herbs from her storage ring. I might as well just get a cook skeleton. Also, I'm quite decent at roasting meat now, if nothing else, Sofia answered while watching Alith sort through her ingredients. That's a start, Alith humored her while she grabbed a small bundle of brown dried herbs and threw it into a stone mortar. She swept the pestle from her work table and twirled it in her hand before starting to pound the dried herbs into a powder. Adding some water, the powder became a sticky paste, which Alith rolled into a small ball, covered in a white powder, and presented to Sofia. That'll be the first thing I can give you. How are the other poisons you took before going? She asked. Some compounds can cancel each other, so it's best not to take too many at once. The effect from the poison flowers and the fruit are almost all gone, the progress has stopped going up too, it has been stuck at 3.8% since around the time we left the refectory. The silent death powder should kick in soon though, it's been almost 4 hours since I took it, Sofia explained. Oh, that doesn't matter. Silent death is supposed to be a bit weak for someone our level, worst case you might faint. Shouldn't interfere with that Tobinic powder gummy. This one usually causes mild paralysis, I think it should work for VPPV. It's slightly sweet too. You tasted it? Sofia asked, as she gobbled up the squishy ball without even identifying it. It is a bit sweet, she's right. Well, yeah, I'm an undead. I can taste whatever I want, I'm immune to all poisons as long as they don't damage the soul. Too bad Mark of Afinareth. Doesn't protect from soul-altering poison, or I'd be able to eat literally anything and be fine. Effects should be very quick to show up, how is it? I don't really feel anything at all, Sofia admitted. Alith frowned, really? Oh, wait, this one spreads mostly through the blood, of course you wouldn't be affected by this crap. A lot of what I can do is actually like that. That's annoying. Let me make something else. I'm quite sure VPPV is in that order exactly because I'm immune to a lot of poisons now. It allows me to consume most of them relatively safely for this step. Just like it transformed my blood to light right after making my skin opaque to avoid turning me back into a weird glowing person. It'll make it so you can take the strong magic stuff without having to worry too much, yet it also means all the cheap poisons I could give you to progress fast are gonna be useless, so this might actually make the thing harder, Alith explained, looking slightly annoyed. Sorry to be an inconvenience, Sofia apologized. Are you kidding? Alith asked, wide-eyed. She narrowed her eyes and filled her hands with even more herbs from her storage rings. With a smirk, she added, I just got myself a willing test subject to try out all of the worst things I can make. This is going to be fun. Alith poked at Sofia's face. Sofia was currently having full body spasms while sitting on a bone chair. The narrative has been stolen. If detected on Amazon, report the infringement. No longer going up? Alith asked, seeing Sofia's expression sour. It stopped already, Sofia answered, getting interrupted by another spasm. Well shit, that's all I have, the batch of health candy is still cooking and that'll be everything. Let me get you an antidote for this one, the spasms look painful. It's fine. It'll go away. Nah, you crazy? This could last like half an hour with the quantity you downed, no point if VPPV's no longer going up. Alith dismissed her as she started throwing herbs into a pot of boiling water. Already up to 48%, it's not bad. It took a while more for Alith to finish the batch of 5 health candies. I didn't think this needed so many ingredients, Sofia commented as she held the small balls of medicine. It's a tough balance of combining a lot of chemical and magical properties. Kind of like fusing 2 unrelated ritual circles. It's not far from creating an actual spell pattern in food form. Of course you'd need a lot of ingredients, Alith explained. That's also why they all give the exact same amount of stats, any deviation, and the spell fails. Alright, well, let's see how this goes. At least no matter what happens I won't be vomiting blood this time. Sometimes vomiting blood can be preferable. You want to suffer from the poisoning though, so yet. I can't say what might happen honestly, Sof. We might actually use your rune here. Worst case I lose some health. Let's go. Sofia popped a candy in her mouth and chewed twice before swallowing, closely monitoring her health. The health did not move, but Sofia felt her consciousness blur. Crap. When she opened her eyes, Alith was bent over her, examining her eyes. Oh, you're back with us. Good, I was starting to worry a bit. You didn't die but you were out for about 20 seconds, she explained. Yug. I feel like shit. But I got 5,000 extra health. Health, 85,980/85,980. Alith nodded, unsurprising, really, there's a reason these can give so many stat points, they're pretty strong compounds. If you remove your rune and heal a bit it should go away. No, my health is full, still. I even got the 5,000 from the candy but I'm nauseous. Hey? That shouldn't wait. Alith turned into a ghost and back, she had a slightly worried expression. You suffered some soul damage. Oh, how bad is that? Not too bad. Just like the damage from summoning sickness, it will heal by itself, but it's pretty significant still. You should sleep it out, Sof. No more candies for you, this isn't external soul damage, it's damage from the inside. Any more could be really dangerous. Understood. Can you help me get to my room? I'm sure Parith would be happy to do that, but if you ask me then of course. I'm worried someone might try to steal my token pouch on the way. The soul damage was gone by next morning. It turned out the health candy hadn't contributed at all to the progress of VPPV, but the extra health was worth it. After her class and her bold training session with Shaili, Sofia went to ask Eternom for help only to learn that he had just left for the weekend. Sofia sought out Beryl to ask if there was anyone else in the academy likely to be able to help her. The teacher coordinator gave her an idea and helped her set it up in the hour. That is how Sofia ended up behind a booth at the entrance of the refectory just before lunchtime. Above Sofia's head, the completion of VPPV was displayed as 48.3/100 and a bone slate atop the booth said, "Poison me and get paid." While another underneath said 1% poisoning equals 100G. I didn't know we were allowed to be this shameless and set up a shop inside the academy. Will the students even be able to help? Do people normally go around carrying strong poisons for no reason? I mean, I was carrying some until I ate it, but still. A group of students strolled in the refectory without paying any attention to Sofia's booth. Kind of reminds me of that time spent begging on the streets. Fun. The disappointment did not last long, as the next group of students noticed the booth and came to check it out. A level 60 Exidian student walked up to Sofia. "Aren't you the summoning teacher?" "That's me," Sofia answered, pointing at Parith, literally sitting behind her on a bone chair. His lights were all off and he was in the shade, so his presence wasn't all that obvious. "Are the signs true?" the student asked, skeptical. Sofia dumped a bunch of gold coins on the counter of the booth. "If you poison me and it's strong enough that the number goes up, you get the gold. There's no catch, I'm just very resistant to poison." "I'll be back," the student said before running away in the direction of the student dormitories. A few minutes later, it was time for lunch, and many more students started coming. Sofia had left the pile of gold on the counter, which did not fail to catch a lot of eyes, and soon, a first student came with something for Sofia to try. It was a flask of red liquid. Fleshberry juice, poisonous substance extracted from fleshberries. It has a strong meaty smell. Often used to get rid of invasive rodents and scavengers. That's new. Never heard of fleshberries. Sofia opened the flash and gulped down the contents under the weirded out gaze of the student. "It kind of tastes like meat too." After waiting a few seconds, nothing happened. Sofia felt nothing wrong with her body. Venerable physique of the primeval void, third step of the light forging realm. Third step, your nerves and brain become light, 48.3/100%. "This one looks like it's a miss, no gold for you, sorry." The student walked away, dejected. Before long, more students came with things for Sofia to try, some of which she had to refuse, like the girl who tried to give her a box full of dried jackdaw dejection, which smelled exactly like what it was. Shit. A few students actually managed to make VPPV go up for fractions of a percent, making a few gold coins and driving even more students to come try to feed poisonous stuff to the weird teacher. All was going decently well. 40 minutes in, the progress was already up to 53.8%, which is when a familiar person showed up to stand in line behind a few students. Elizabeth frows. Or rather, the Empress. What do you want with me? Sofia glared at the woman, and got a wave and a mischievous smile in response. She might actually kill me this time. And I'd probably have to pay her for it. Chapter 366, Satisfyingly Safe Substances. After going through the poisoning attempts of a few more students, it was the Empress's turn, and Sofia was not really looking forward to it. We meet again, the woman said, a polite smile on her face. Yes, how unexpected. Are you here to help with the poisoning? There are a lot of people waiting, as you can see, Sofia answered, trying not to sound too cold or frightened. Of course, yes. I am always willing to help a teacher. I just happened to hear about this stunt of yours while roaming the halls, and I have acquired quite a collection of exotic substances over the years. They hardly ever find a buyer, so this should be a golden opportunity to make some money back, the woman explained with a large smile as a row of small flasks appeared in front of her. All loaded with magic. The one on the far right has more mana than me, for fuck's sake. You should try the one on your left first and work your way up to the one on the right, Elizabeth explained. Of course, these are all quite dangerous, but I assume you know what you're doing, do you not? She asked with a suave voice. Sofia pretended to laugh to defuse the tension a bit. Aha, of course I do. Only because I have a rune prepared. I know soul-damaging poisons can be dangerous still, but I should be able to trust Mr. Scribe at least. I just have to identify all of these. So, this first one. The wreckage, a strong and very concentrated alcohol with a touch of magic. Legend says it was the ancestral treasure of the dwarves, who needed a way to get wasted on their ships without occupying half the cargo with barrels of beer, back when storage magic was yet to be discovered. Safety ranking, sufficiently safe. Oh, so instead of item level and grade, I get safety rankings now? You've been taking a lot of liberties lately, Mr. Scribe, is that because I am no longer getting new skills and you're getting bored? Either way, I like it, thanks. Sofia picked up the wreckage, gave a last look to Elizabeth who was standing in front of her, smiling ear to ear, and gulped down the contents. It was like drinking pure alcohol and pretty disgusting. Ugh, so far so good. Counter isn't moving though. It looks like this one was a failure, Sofia told the woman. Elizabeth's smile did not falter. No worry, I'm sure the taste of such a delicate beverage was at least an invaluable experience. Please do try the next one, Teacher Valkyria. Fellroot extract, pungent extract of a fellroot's juices. It is commonly used to quell chronic pain, for those who can afford it. The usual recommended prescription for an adult is 1 drop. Safety ranking, satisfyingly safe. So is it safe to drink 1 drop or to drink the whole flask? Because there is a lot more than 1 drop in there, Mr. Scribe. Well, I still have the rune anyway. Sofia drank the fellroot extract and it immediately made her feel a bit dizzy. Her extremities, in particular, went a bit numb, but the sensation quickly disappeared as the number about Sofia's head went up. Not bad. It seems I owe you some money already, Sofia commented. Please, teacher, do not bother with counting. I will be taking all of this money, I am pretty sure. I will donate it to an orphanage in your name if you will let me. The narrative has been stolen. If detected on Amazon, report the infringement. Such an innocent remark and not at all hinting that she knows about my past. It is no big secret that I am an orphan, though. That is so selfless of you, Miss Frows. And I cannot help but wonder, what do you do for a living that you would disregard so much money, and that you would go around with so much poison at your disposal in the first place? Elizabeth answered with a polite laugh. Why, that is quite the question. Although the specifics of my job are a bit tricky to encapsulate in a few words, I, over the years, have come to specialize in threat assessment and removal, if you will, she explained as she leaned on the counter. Sofia found it strange that she would admit to something like this with all the students around, but none of them seemed to react. They were all still just patiently waiting in line or walking by to go get their food. Sofia jumped in place a few times, which Elizabeth observed with a raised brow, but the students, again, did not react. Sofia knew enough about the eye-catching power of her feminine assets for this lack of reaction to be sufficient proof that something weird was going on. You're preventing them from seeing or hearing this conversation, aren't you? Sofia asked Elizabeth, eyeing the unresponsive students. Is there still a need to be so roundabout about things when it's like this, Empress Olivia? So this is what you were doing, jumping in place? Elizabeth asked with a chuckle. I see, clever. They are all oblivious to what is happening here right now, yes. I just like to enjoy some privacy, and please, my friends call me Elizabeth. Your friends, You sure have a special way to foster friendship. If you wanted to make a good impression, all you had to do was to gift me a skeleton, it's not that hard, is that not a fake name? Now, do not be ridiculous, Teacher Valkyria. If I am the one to approve of names in the Empire, how can my name possibly be false? Right, I should get back to drinking. Unnamed mix, there are so many different toxic substances mixed together in this vial, it is hard to tell what the effects are going to be exactly, but it is bound to be unpleasant. Safety ranking, potentially painful product. You know, Mr. Scribe, I'm sensing a pretty predictable pattern in the way you write these safety ranks. Did you add them only so you could play around with words? Have you tried these yourself? Sofia asked Elizabeth, as she observed the brown goo she had identified as an unnamed mix in the flask she was holding. For the most part. The last two I have not touched. I suspect you will reach 100% with your quest or skill or whatever this is long before you get to these, however. But if you do not, the option is there, if you have the confidence to try them. I see. What level are you at, by the way? What you did during my first class was impressive. I have yet to attempt the last two trials. As for the party trick, it's barely worth mentioning. Just see it as a very advanced monocyte. My class deals with any and all things vision related. But are you not going to drink? This one is a personal concoction of mine, Elizabeth explained. Sofia uncorked the flask and gave it a sniff, it smelled like rotten eggs and made her gag. I know it is not my place to give you advice, but you might want to stay away from alchemy in the future. Pinching her nose, Sofia emptied the contents of the flask in one big gulp. Her vision instantly started to sway, and she became nauseous, having to use the counter as support not to fall over. Oh shit, it's been a while since I last fell so sick. Perith stood up from his chair and walked over to pat Sofia's back as she struggled to stay conscious. The effects lasted a few seconds before starting to fade. As the nausea disappeared and her vision calmed, her muscles started to cramp randomly, and Perith had to support her to keep her stable. It won't last long. Try to relax, that helps with the cramps, the Empress suggested while sipping on a glass of orange-colored drink through a thin tube of hollow wood. Where did she even get that? It took Sofia a good minute to recover, slumped on the counter. She felt it was worth the pain, though, as VPPV progressed quite a bit. Venerable physique of the primeval void, third step of the light forging realm. Third step, your nerves and brain become light, 59.8/100%. Sofia had conflicting emotions as she looked up to see the Empress looking down at her while sipping on her cold drink with a snide smile. Do you find this funny? Sofia asked, still weak from the poisoning. I do, Elizabeth answered before taking another sip. I was very wary of you and your link to the Big Four at first, but it is refreshing to see that you aren't someone I need to get rid of after all. And even if I did, I feel like just leaving you to your own business will have the same result, she added, looking at Sofia then at the row of flasks full of poison right next to her. So you think I'll just die at some point in the near future is what you are getting at? I don't know if I should be offended. Maybe not die, Elizabeth denied, but should one keep playing with fire, they will get burned. Not to worry, Empress, I have been burned many times already. But look, I'm still standing. Sofia fought the lingering dizziness to regain her composure and grabbed the next flask of poison. Chapter 367, Sea Creature. Trivenatoserine protesic acid, also known as the Blood Hunter Serum, this poison kills by intense and fast-acting blood clotting. Most effective when injected near the heart. Safety ranking, Weird Water. Weird Water? This isn't going to do anything to someone with no blood, right? So it's like drinking weird water. Sofia uncorked the vial and drank the whole thing like water under the watchful eyes of Elizabeth. See, still not getting burned. No effect? Elizabeth asked after a few seconds. None. The Empress raised an eyebrow, and her left eye shone with mana as her gaze pierced Sofia. Finally, she stopped her magic with an utterance of acknowledgement. Got it, no blood. That is new. It explains a lot. Why would you still drink it when you knew it was useless? I saw you identify it. I'm being petty to prove a point, Sofia deadpanned. Elizabeth covered her mouth with the back of her hand as she giggled, trying to impress the Empress. Are you? I am already married, sorry, but how about you explain what this poisoning spree is about, if you want to be interesting? Sure, after all, you went out of your way to help me this time, did you not? As an apology for your past deeds, perhaps? To keep it simple, the skill which turned my blood to light is turning my nerves to light as well, and I need to consume nerve-damaging substances to speed up the process. The percentage above my head is the completion, Sofia explained while she twirled the one drop of red liquid in the flask she was holding around. My past deeds? I haven't a clue as to what you may be referring to, Miss Valkyria, Elizabeth said, clearly meaning the opposite. A peculiar skill, it will be interesting to see how that plays into your next trial. The Tower of Rebirth. I know the censor is in the way, but how was it for you? Sofia asked. I was satisfied with my results, and see where it got me. I dare say my talent shone through. Right, you wagered an essence of talent, I suppose. You are well informed, Saintess. What about you, not going to go with your original patron god, I imagine? You imagine well. I was thinking of wagering an essence of a much better quality than that, to be perfectly honest. Even though the hows and whys of this whole wager system are still a bit opaque to me. It will all be explained in due time, not to worry, one can even wager gold if they have no essence to spare. Speaking of which, your big skeleton here should also prepare a wager. He is a separate sapient entity from you, is he not? Same goes for the smaller one who is absent today. Or are you simply very much into puppeteering along with necromancy? Wait, do I need an essence for Perith and Bookie? Actually, since Perith goes with me it makes sense that, but what about Bookie, though? I don't have that much essence to spare, I need to keep at least 10 for VPPV. Sofia glanced back at Perith who had returned to his chair. This might actually be an issue. You will figure something out, I am sure. And if not, I would happily lend you some talent for a meager century or two of labor for the Empire, if you beg. No offense, but I am afraid I will need to refuse. None taken. The offer stands, the Empress said with a shrug. Sofia changed the subject. Right, I should get back to drinking or we will be here all day. Basilisk miasma, a concentrated drop of miasma refined from the gallbladder of a millennia-old basilisk. Safety ranking, disturbingly dangerous drinkable drop. You're giving mixed messages now. I don't mind if you take some liberties with the descriptions, but at least try to be a bit serious when the topic is me drinking potentially lethal substances. Sofia watched letters disappear from the safety ranking line until all it said was Safety ranking, drink. The author's content has been appropriated, report any instances of this story on Amazon. Alright then. Much better, thanks. You might want to sit down for this one, the Empress warned. Good call, thanks. Plopping down on the bone throne, Sofia carefully ingested the drop of basilisk miasma. Oh. Sofia opened her eyes. She was in her room, on her bed. It was night. I'll give you this one, Empress, you won. Sensing Perith approaching, she asked him, was I out for longer than a day? Perith shook his skull in response, and showed Sofia his hands with 9 fingers up. 9 hours. The rune is still up, so I didn't die. But I'm in bad shape. Health, 12,558/85,980. Stamina, 3,602/21047. Mana, 53,800/417,100. Elizabeth brought me here, I guess, probably Perith who opened the door. I don't remember anything. I just felt the drop touch my tongue and... Sofia's attention was distracted by Perith who had just picked up the flask tray from a shelf and brought it to her. The 3 remaining flasks of poison suddenly looked a lot scarier. What a nice present. Any shenanigans? She asked Perith. Again, he shook his skull. Well. Let's see. I'm at 66%. This was the strongest poison yet, but it only gave that much. Another case of diminishing returns? Sofia decided to slow down the poison taking. She would do one a day after class, with Alith and Saria to watch over her. The next poison went down easy. Sofia simply died, her entire upper body dissolved by the flask of strange alchemical compounds, and brought the completion up to 78%. She was brought back by an unlife rune with no further issue. This only left the last two most dangerous poisons. First was a vial of kleptra saliva which Sofia debated trying for a while because it sounded disgusting, but which she eventually consumed. Her scribe's safety ranking of this one was, literally lethal. And to no one's surprise, it actually was, but this time in a slow and painful manner, with Sofia's body consuming itself from the inside out. This did wonders to the completion of VPPV, which shot all the way up to 99%. She waited for the following weekend to try the last one, as she needed to prepare a special place to consume it. Once again, the vial only contained one drop. Leviathan's tear, a droplet extracted from a tear of the Leviathan. Safety ranking, do not drink. Recommended process, in a closed room, inhale a single breath of the smell from at least 10 meters away, quickly close and store the container before setting yourself on fire to consume remaining airborne emanations. You really know just what to say to make me feel safe. To Delivi's credit, this one is probably very expensive. Saria was watching Bookie's Stone Ogre squad dig an underground chamber in a random cliffside for Sofia to do her thing. Are you really sure you should be using that? Sofia shrugged. I tried several other things for the last 3 days, but it's been stuck at 99%, so if anything, Eternam and Leverla both said I should be alright as long as I follow the instructions. We even have a death priest hiding nearby, I think. It should be alright. I'll still have 3 runes on, but if everything goes well I shouldn't even die. Not from the tear directly, at least. The fire won't help either, Saria continued, still uneasy. I have the fire resistance from Saintess madness, so it shouldn't be too bad. It will stop when there's no air left in the room anyway, which should be relatively fast if I understood everything correctly. Anyway, I'm more than used to getting burned at this point. Alright, I won't stop you, I'm just worried. Everything I found about the Leviathan points to anything coming from it as extremely nasty stuff. As the two sisters debated on the safety of the poisoning, Alith resurfaced from the hole in the cliffside. Your room is ready, Your Highness. She hollered from there. Sofia rolled her eyes and walked up to her. I see you take your class as a lady-in-waiting very seriously. All jokes aside, thanks for coming. Not that I can do much if this goes wrong, but I'm happy to be here for moral support. Good luck, Sof. See you both in a bit, Sofia told Alith and Saria as she entered the long underground room. Perith was already on the other side, holding the flask with the tear. The stone ogres left after Sofia entered and closed the path behind themselves. All right, I'm ready when you are. Perith opened the flask and closed it almost instantly. It took a few seconds for a prickly sensation to reach Sofia's skin, prompting her to take one deep breath of the fumes. It smelled a bit like the ocean. When she was done, a single spark from Angel's bolt set off a chain reaction that engulfed the room in green flames. Within the flames, Sofia closed her eyes. The curse-like mana from the fumes spread through her like waves crashing against her body. She felt bloated. She couldn't see what was happening exactly, but she had already lost all physical sensations from her body. Even the heat of the flames died down. It feels exactly like it did when I died to become an apostle. My health is moving up and down like a wave. This is the first time I'm healing despite the unlife rune being there. I'm really curious, but... Oh, screw it. Sofia connected her vision to Perith's. She shouldn't have. There were no flames left, only her body, bloated, warped and stretched, extending like an invasive seaweed to cover every wall, becoming little more than a painting of flesh. Her veins of light stretched across her elongated organs like an eerie sight from outer space as uncanny waves of visible mana scattered along the surface of her skin. Perith covered his eyes. Chapter 368, Double Agent. Sofia did her best to forget the horrendous image of what she had become, and focused on VPPV instead. She could see her health go down steadily now, and she could feel Perith attacking her. The second the progress reached 100%, Perith killed her. The rune brought Sofia back to life. As usual, her first reflex was to open her eyes, but she couldn't. Bony finger on her face held her eyelids tightly shut. It's still there, isn't it? There was no answer, but she could feel Perith's distress. In fact, she knew the answer perfectly well, she could feel her old body pulsating below her. It's all right. I'm fine now, aren't I? My body feels perfectly normal. I feel better than ever, actually. Well, get rid of that thing. She immediately covered the entire room in Iridian rot. But to her dismay, she heard the rot consume itself instantly. Whatever her corpse had become, the rot was not having it for dinner. My rot is still just a weak copy after all. Can you help me put the scale arm on? She asked Perith. I will just bolt it all to ashes. Perith was reluctant. I'll keep my eyes closed, alright? I'm not even using my mana senses at all. I still have the glove and all the rings, so just give me the arm. Perith helped Sofia to sit up and to put the scale armor on. Once it was all said and done, she sent him outside with the graveyard skeletons to warn everyone else to take some distance and started to channel an explosive bolt. She grew the bolt until she only had enough mana left for the graveyard skeletons to safely carry her outside. After quickly checking through Perith's vision that everyone had safely evacuated, she let the bolt go off. Despite her closed eyes, her vision turned white. Surviving the initial blast with 1% of her health left thanks to the passive effect of VPPV, she quickly called the graveyard skeletons to take her to the spiritual plane as the entire hill collapsed on her, forever burying whatever might be left of her previous Leviathan corrupted body. Maybe I should reconsider getting the friendly fire classless after all. The graveyard skeletons let Sofia out of the ground at the maximum of their range outside of the hill. The previously imposing cliffside of the small hill had become nothing but a pile of rubble. A large part of the hill had collapsed to the side in a landslide, and the near vicinity was covered in char marks and rogue boulders. The damages of a 200,000 mana bolt. It really does much more damage in enclosed spaces, Sofia said to herself as she observed the aftermath. She felt relatively fine despite her charred body under the regenerating bone armor and her empty mana. My mind feels clearer somehow. This upgrade came with a bonus in processing, I think. My brain is made of light, now, right? I wonder how that even works, but I feel like I should be significantly harder to kill now. Theoretically I should still be able to think even if my head gets destroyed, no? If the brain of light stays behind just like the veins. Can I even still die? With no answer to her questions, Alith, Saria, and Perith rejoined her. Sofia? Saria asked. Sofia turned around, a great success. It was a bit messy. I'm not looking too good under the armor currently, the runes still prevent healing. I know it's weird, but want to try to kill me? Never change, sister, you're serious, aren't you? Let this older sibling of yours stab you to teach you some decency, then. Where do you want it? Saria asked as her dragon mask crawled up to her face and her magical polyarm of blue light formed in her hands. Sofia tapped her forehead, opening a vertical slit in her bone helmet. Saria shook her head disapprovingly and stabbed Sofia in the face. You're just as bad as her, Alith commented from the side. Perith seemed to be of the same mind. Sofia watched her health go down a few more points. The pain was really mild, muted. The magical blade felt cold inside her skin. Not dead? Saria asked. No, I'd appreciate it if you could pull the blade out, though. Saria frowned, but obliged. Bright yellow light leaked from the gaping hole in Sofia's punctured head as the polyarm was removed. Then the skin glued itself back together, leaving no apparent traces of the attack. I have a hole in my skull now. I don't know if I'm more impressed or disturbed, Alith commented. It was Doppel who answered in a sarcastic tone, you're a ghost, wearer. Can you really talk? Well, you're a talking piece of clothing which I am wearing, so I don't think you're well placed to speak either. Fair, do you think I can have another one of those red silk chemises tonight? After a few more stabs, it became evident that killing Sofia with something as clean as a single blade wouldn't work unless all her bones were shattered, so to avoid a mess, she just cancelled the runes and let her passive healing heal her back up. Unauthorized use. This story is on Amazon without permission from the author. Report any sightings. Maybe it's a good time to start dying less often. Venerable physique of the primeval void, 4th step of the light forging realm. Light forging realm. Starting step, you no longer age. First step, your skin becomes tougher and opaque, 1000/1000%. Second step, your blood becomes light, 126,441/126,441 drops converted. Third step, your nerves and brain become light, 100/100%. Fourth step, become a beauty blessed by light, 0/6/1. Fifth step, finalize the light forging. Current step training method, obtain the essence of a light-related deity, use it through this skill to alter your appearance. I don't understand. I've been stuck on this crap for a week. I already have the essence, come on, This should have been a free step. Sofia once again channeled one of Sun's essence through the skill, and as it did every time, it overloaded the skill's mana channels with so much energy that it backlashed and failed to accomplish anything. Sofia cursed. I give up all right. You forced my hand. I didn't want to, but I'll use Scripture's essence. How is it even light related anyway? Letting go of her stubbornness, Sofia channeled the venerable physique skill with Scripture's essence, and the step was instantly completed as her body started glowing all over like a shining star. Great! Is this my life now? Looking like a luminous freak, again. She kept activating the skill, and tried playing around with the mana distribution, and to her great relief, she managed to stop glowing altogether. Much better. Now the question is, can I do a tasteful in-between? After a full night of deliberation in front of her mirror, and with the help of Perith approving or disapproving of her changes, Sofia ended up settling for 2 configurations of the lights. For her everyday life, she had the passive mode where only her eyes and hair were affected, with her eyes shining softly with blue light and her hair becoming ever so slightly transparent and shimmering with golden light. And for grand occasions, she had the angel mode, which, for all intents and purposes, made her look like a semi-transparent being of golden light inlaid with shining stars, just like the angels and archangels. With the exception of not looking like she was trying to break reality, unlike the real thing. It still looked very uncanny. It really only alters how I look though. Well, good enough. One last step and I'm done with the light forging. For once Sofia did something she rarely did and opened the full description of VPPV, which came with a very familiar sudden jolt of pain in her head, which she could tell was largely attenuated thanks to her brain being now made of light. Mr. Scribe? What are you doing? Are you all right? Venerable physique of the primeval void, 5th step of the light forging realm. The primeval void was born of the universe's first shadow. Shadow gathering realm. A single hit cannot take away more than 99% of your maximum health. You are 50% more resilient to explosions. You are able to see in extremely low light levels and to breathe light. You cannot be hurt by the cold and cannot be traced in the spirit realm. Shadows and light are 2 faces of a single coin. Light forging realm. Starting step, you no longer age. First step, your skin becomes tougher and opaque, 1000/1000%. Second step, your blood becomes light, 126/441/126/441 drops converted. Third step, your nerves and brain become light, 100/100%. Fourth step, become a beauty blessed by light, 1+5/1. Fifth step, finalize the light forging by awakening the mana cores, 0/11. The primeval void is your domain. Boundless space realm. Starting step, you are able to perform quantic transpositions. First step. Current step training method. 1. Complete the bonus task in your next trial before the reward distribution and request a scribe upgrade to tier 3. 2. At the time of rebirth, complain that your scribe has wrongfully assigned you a quest resulting in the premature death of the Apostle of Curse. 3. Ignore all error messages and focus on absorbing the mana hijacked from the tower. 4. When the system's enforcers show up, claim that your actions fall under the emergency procedure rule arrow 12, and request to be judged directly by Anna. Do not say or do anything else until they give way. 5. Thoughts about these instructions may get censored to avoid unwanted alerts. 6. These instructions will disappear in 20 seconds, commit them to memory now. Complete all steps and gather Divine Essence to unlock further realms. Current Divine Essence, 11. Scripture, 1. Afenareth, 1. Dread, 1. Sorrow, 1. Ormancleath, 1. Victory, 1. Sun, 5. No way, what are you serious? Past the initial shock, Sofia quickly read the training method several times over, and soon, it disappeared, replaced by a set of ridiculous instructions to the tune of, find the origin of a rainbow or count the grains of sand in the red desert. I'm going to trust you on this one, Scribe, but you better know what you're doing. And who's Anna? Chapter 369, Lunar Revelations. After the disturbing events with the Leviathan tier, Sofia's vacations at the academy finally felt like actual rest. With no pressing issues remaining, she could slowly keep helping the students progress while working on her own skills at a leisurely pace. The first thing she did was to finally read the entirety of what she had access to of the Academy's library, then of the Empire's public Great Royal Library. It only took her a few minutes to go through even the bigger tomes, flipping through the pages like a lunatic, quickly earning herself a reputation among the nobles of the empire as a book-eating freak. On a happen-chance meeting with Elizabeth, she traded the flask with the Leviathan's tear back to her for a pass to the Mithrium Rankai restricted section of the Royal Library, where she found books about all the known classes, siege rituals, and dungeon locations, as well as sparse but interesting information on the major gods and the deep. Among all the interesting information, one that definitely caught her eyes was the mention of Scripture as one of the strongest major gods worshipped by humans of the pre-system era, and his downfall as people began to associate holy text with the system, redirecting power to its creator god, whose identity, just like that of the two other admins, wasn't mentioned anywhere. Uncensored knowledge on the system itself was sparse. There was apparently God's incarnation in charge of every trial after the first, though their names, too, were not spoken. Finally, she found a few passages mentioning the Rot Dragon and the Higher Races War, which the book described as a tragedy that left an entire continent uninhabitable. For months, life was calm at the academy. Even during the events for tokens with Sofia and Astlia's students, there were no more attacks or suspicious activities. Shaili fell off in the token rankings as she had become obsessed with mastering the Angel's Bolt and was already at a point where she could throw genuine, if weak, piercing bolts. Unlike Sofia, who trained to channel them faster, Shaili was trying to modify her version to be more mana efficient. Instead of her, it was Lola who solidified her ranking in first place, with a small but meaningful lead over Saria in second place, Arian in third, a level 199 student in fourth, and N and Opal constantly battling and dueling each other for fifth place. After every public class, more and more students would apply to Sofia's class, but she rejected all of their applications as she felt she couldn't focus on any more students at once. Many of the other teachers also used their lesson credits to come to spectate her and each other's classes. Sofia also started proactively using all of her accumulated credits, finally learning short-range teleportation from Astlia's lessons, and overall just getting to know every teacher in the academy while learning random knowledge in a bunch of unrelated fields. In particular, she spent a lot of time in Eternam's necromancy lessons, which she was already overqualified for most of the time, but enjoyed anyway. Since Zire was already often with Eternam, Sofia could often be seen hanging out with the two avians around the academy grounds. She was attacked a few times for her token pouch by organized groups of students, netting her quite a few new hands for her room's door, but no one ever challenged her to an official duel again after the humiliation of Marquis Proud Wall. Her skills were slowly progressing, the combat skills in particular she trained by organizing frequent all-out brawls with Estelia, Saria, and Alith whenever the four of them were all free. She was admiring the result of her hard work on the 7th out of the 10 months of the school year, when she noticed her first mana pearl from Crystallized was finally ready. Name, Sofia Afinareth. Age 21. Class, Saintess. Level, 249. Health, 85 980/85 980, 20k plus, 20/level, 4k, plus 65k. Stamina, 21047/21047, 20067 plus, 20/level, 4k. Mana, 417/100/417/100, 319/100 plus, 2k/level 400k. Main specialization, Eclipse Skeleton. Alteration chance, 100%. Secondary specialization, Heat Death. Active skills, 8/8. Spine of the Black Sun, level 249. Summon Blood, level 249. Maiden Banshee, level 249, LV.249. Graveyard of the Righteous, level 247. False Immortality, level 3. This narrative has been purloined without the author's approval. Report any appearances on Amazon. Skull Choir, level 236. Reign over Shadows. Saintess Madness, level 2. Passive skills, 7/8. Blessing of the Deep, 2/4. Valkyria's Rehofen of Sorrow. Exalted Exoskeleton. Venerable Physique of the Primeval Void, 5th Step Light Forging Realm. Bone Dominus, level 2. Iridian Rot. Runeforged Overlord, level 249. Classless skills, 7/7. Dreams of a Demon Which Gods Envy, March of the Envoy. Summon Self, level 42. Mana Manipulation. Radiance, level 99. Quintessential. One with Suffering. Crystallized. Special Skills, 1. The Book of Skeletons. Summoned Heroes, 4/4. LV.249 Parath, Holy Bone Plate Mauler Eclipse Skeleton. LV.249 Alith, Alith. LV.249 Book of Skeletons, Book. LV.249 Iwarat, Heartless Shade. Mark of Afinareth. Bone Dominus really is stubbornly stuck there. Most of everything else is almost ready though. I need to work a bit more on the teleportation classless and finish optimizing the bolts and I should be good to go for the trial. I'll just need to take care of Parath and Bookie next before going. Also pay Aredes and TLDR a visit. Now onto the pearl. It's been almost ready for a while but it's just dislodged itself a bit I think, Sofia said to herself as she prodded the pearl on her chest. With a gentle pinch, she dislodged it, revealing the small budding bead of a new pearl underneath. Oh, so the new pearl is what pushed it out. Sofia held the pearl in front of her face and observed it closely. It was perfectly smooth and round, about the size of one of Alith's candy, and its pearly surface was a marbled mix of reflective blues and purples. There's quite a lot of mana aggregated inside. It's surprisingly heavy, too. About 6 months for this. I hope they come much faster later on, since the growth speed is linked to the mana rigon. Let's see what Mr. Scribe has to say. Mana Pearl, a pearl of very finely compressed and woven mana taking a physical form from the sheer density of energy contained within. It can fuel rituals for a long time or be swallowed whole to gain a 100% bonus to thinking speed lasting for around 20 minutes as well as fueling your mana regeneration even in an environment devoid of mana, up to a certain point. Will slowly dissipate in about a decade, use within 5 years for best results. Well, keeping that one for the trial. Might even be worth it to wait until I get a second one before going in. Actually, what if I ate 2 at once? Mr. Scribe? Identifying the pearl again, there was an additional line about mass consumption diminishing returns. Good to know. There should be the next competition event in a few days, no? How come Ms. Deathmarch hasn't brought me anything yet? I'll see if Astelia is home. She should be napping around this time I think. Do I wait? So it was not just me? Astelia asked, sleepy-eyed and still holding a yellow bird-shaped plushie. I thought the academy might have skipped me by mistake when making the papers. I was going to bring it up to you at tonight's fight. Well, time to pay a visit to our lovely coordinator. Are you coming with me? Astelia nodded. Give me a second to change. She closed the door and reappeared 2 minutes later, her hair tied in an approximative ponytail and wearing a simple long tunic in the colors of the academy. There's no rush, you know, Sofia commented jokingly. I would not be so sure about that. Moon just sent me a very creepy vision of a weird mask. How nice. Just when I was starting to get used to the slow life here. Sofia shaped the one-eyed mask of Scripture's newest pawn out of bones and showed it to Astelia. By any chance? Yes. This one. Is it what I think it is? Exactly that one. This bastard Scripture must be planning some shit again. So don't rush, be ready for battle. We're safe in the academy, but who knows how fast things can go awry. I'm not getting caught unprepared again. How long do you need? About 10 minutes to be sure I'm fully ready, Astelia answered after a second of reflection. I'll be back here in 10, then. Sofia summoned the graveyard skeletons and phased right out of the teacher's tower. Sofia phased right into Alith's alchemy lab, which was where she was at this time of day with 100% certainty. Sof? Something going on? I have reasons to think it's time. Right now? Alith asked while she cut the fire under her multiple cauldrons and glassware tubes. I'm not sure, but it's better if you come just in case. Give me a second to make sure nothing's going to explode and I'm good to go. Sofia found Saria in the spectator benches of the underground arena, watching the ongoing duels. She tapped on her shoulder. Time for her planned birthday party. Really? Saria asked as she turned around. Uncertain, but Moon just sent Asti a vision on the elf's mask. All right, I'll be heading out with Parath then. Cynthia is in our room if you want to check the chat. Don't forget your runes. I'm working on it. Chapter 370, Scouting the Location. It turned out that Cynthia's chat was completely clueless as to what was happening, but Hatred wished Sofia good luck either way and Death sent one of his usual random faces. Sorrow was not present for some reason, leading Sofia to think she might be looking after Iwara at the moment. Led by Beryl, Sofia and Astelia entered Belligina's office in the highest tower of the academy. The headmaster was already there, behind his desk and fiddling with some kind of elaborate Mithrium contraption which held in place small dragon scales fragments each engraved with a different piece of ritual circle which could be moved around. He looked up from his contraption and welcomed the two young teachers. "You come early. Sit, I will explain. Beryl, you may go and activate the defenses with Saint Tartaros," the old dragon in Exidian form told them. Beryl left with a nod, while Sofia and Astelia silently sat opposite to the headmaster. "As you might have guessed, you two will not be taking part in this weekend's event. Your target has shown itself, the Pawn of Scripture. He has already started sabotaging your next planned event location," Belligenus explained while he focused his attention on the contraption again. "How come Scripture knows of the event location?" Sofia asked. "It is a complex subject which has to do with his domain," Belligenus started explaining, his head still buried inside the strange contraption occupying most of his desk. "We found a few students worshipping religious texts within the academy grounds. Using this along with the proximity of his essence which you bear, it created a sufficient link for him to spy on the happenings within the academy. We have since removed all religious rites in the near vicinity, but the event locations were planned long in advance. Scripture can spy on things happening near me as long as there are religious texts being worshipped nearby." "I see. No wonder the elf prepared such a complex trap last time. Scripture really knew about Leverla's charm. Of course there would be religious texts in Death's Church. So this is what this was about." Astelia said like she just understood something. "I was wondering why Beryl was so insistent on asking if I had texts from Moon. No one asked me, though?" Sofia wondered aloud. "Asking you would only alert Scripture that something was going on. We acted fast to prevent any actions from his part. We know that you carry no religious text, however," Belligenus told her. "How? We asked your skeleton." "Oh. That would work. When, though? Not that it matters but when I was busy reading through the library probably, Perith did wander off on his own a few times. Is that it? All right, I'm still not used to seeing him act on his own that much, but I'm not against it. It's honestly uncomfortable to be separated like this." Belligenus stood up from his chair to get a better look at his Mithrium machine. He addressed the two teachers again. "This, right here, is a targeted essence canceller. As you can see, I am still giving it the finishing touches. Only I can operate it, and this is what I will be using to prevent Scripture from intervening when you fight his pawn. We were planning for you two to enter the location an hour early compared to the events planning to scout the location, but we can proceed with it earlier." "Wait, so we're really going to fight against them? Can you not deal with it yourself?" Astelia asked. "Why do we, two weak teachers, have to expose ourselves to danger like this? I know the issue originally comes from Sofia's history with Scripture, so I would understand if you did not want to help, but if you are going to help, being level 500, why make things this complicated? I know how strong dragons are. If you spot this story on Amazon, know that it has been stolen. Report the violation. There is a lot going on. I could, indeed, obliterate that measly pawn of Scripture, right this moment, without even leaving this office. But that is not what you want. Trust me, you want him alive. And I will explain why at the end of this conversation. Why could we possibly need the elf alive? To steal another essence from Scripture maybe?" Sofia raised another question, "and the reason only I and Astelia can go is to avoid the elf from being suspicious and teleporting away like last time?" "Precisely," Belligenus confirmed. "The pawn is a remote vessel to Scripture, fooling his senses would be easy. But, even in hiding, someone over level 250 would be too noticeable to approach without being detected by a god. Past that threshold, you become much more visible to the divine, annoyingly so. So only you two can go." "Oh, all right. I feared that we may need to cancel the birthday party, but it turns out that despite everything not happening how I thought it would, we can still proceed. That's reassuring." Belligenus continued to explain his plan. "Once the pawn takes notice of your arrival, he will put whatever plan he is preparing to execution. At this instant, I will appear in the skies above and activate this machine, which will prevent Scripture from connecting to his essence and from interfering at all, as well as prevent the pawn from escaping. This, however, is a complex process. I will not be able to help in any other way, and can only maintain it for a few minutes. During this time, you must neutralize the pawn and free him of Scripture's grasp." "How do we free him?" Astelia asked. "It is a simple matter of removing a few parasites. Which I believe should be one of Miss Valkyria's abilities. Is it not?" Beligenes asked with a knowing smile. Sofia nodded, but she was deep in thoughts wondering how Beligenes could possibly know that. The abilities and existence of Blessing of the Deep were not something she had revealed to just anyone. He found out that I saved the Magisterium's daughter perhaps? How extensive of a background check do you need to perform to know about this? No secrets from the level 500s, hey. So the elf is full of mind parasites, how like scripture to do that. Can he really be saved, though? The Sinner Paladins and Templars were all already beyond saving. So, we go there pretending to just come to scout the location, you cut scripture off, then we free the pawn, right? Sofia asked for some clarification. Will they not fight back? Oh, they will, absolutely. And they are much stronger than you both as well. But without scripture pulling the strings, they will be acting purely on blind instincts. I am fully confident that you can handle it. If not, I will be saving you, but it will cost the pawn their life, Beligenes explained. I still don't get why we should care, Abo Sofia started saying, but she stopped herself mid-sentence. Slowly, the pieces of the puzzle were starting to all fit together in her head. She looked at Astelia. Oh fuck! Sofia and Astelia were teleported to the event location. It was the remnants of an ancient dilapidated city, surrounded by steep rocky mountains on all sides. No dungeon this time. The actual event for the students was an archaeology trip, during which they were meant to search for old relics and try to understand what had led to the city's downfall. Of course, no archaeology would be done today. Astlia's mood was terrible. Sofia had never seen her this stressed and angry. So much so that she wondered whether the small vampire could actually fight. The enemy was 100 levels above them, after all, not a gap easily crossed. Only because of the mind parasites infesting the enemy did they stand a chance. On the bright side, they now knew the enemy very well. Sofia looked around. They had been teleported directly within the ruins, only carved stone blocks in vaguely square formations on the ground were left of whatever this place had been. Astelia turned to look in a certain direction, she couldn't prevent her sharp canines from showing, she growled, he's here. I can smell it. Sofia placed a hand on her shoulder. Try to calm down, Asti. We've got this. We're prepared. Play your role, and everything will be all right. This calmed the shaking of the young vampire somewhat, but it failed to dispel her tense facial expression. Out of nowhere, the blue sky disappeared. The entire mountain range had suddenly been enveloped by a bright pink shield pulsing with energy, like an impenetrable dome of flowing mana obscuring the sky. The transition had been instantaneous and silent. Violent screams resounded from the other end of the ruined city. Deformed screeches of rage and agony. It was Scripture's pawn being cut from the divine hand controlling him. All right, Mr. Scribe, it's on you, on my signal.